make one disclaimer. Jonah Ka'awai the other week suggested that by using the word congressman, certain political bodies were implying a certain endorsement. Any use of the word congressman is for me, does not imply any type of endorsement, and I'll make an effort to use the word congressman. Again, these questions have been submitted by various people, members of Mo'ilili Matters, people in the legal community. We're going to be discussing, hopefully, again, I don't think we'll be able to get to all the questions, but a number of issues, and I think we'll get to more detailed questions than which may have been asked in other public forums. We'll be discussing issues related to the economy, Native Hawaiians, maybe some Hawaii and Mo'ilili specific questions, the environment, governance, and national security, education, and technology. The first question is going to be about the economy. For the audience, the format basically is that the candidates will have 3 minutes to respond, 1 minute for a rebuttal or for clarification, and then they'll have an optional 1 minute for a response. Before we get to the questions, I'd like to start off with Ms. Hanabusa, then Mr. Djou, and Mr. Case with a 3-minute introduction of yourself. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Aloha. Aloha. I'd first like to, of course, thank Mo'ilili Matters and Derek Kawanoi for putting this together and giving his plug of Willows for making this facility available, and for all of you for being here and affording us the opportunity to at least give you a chance to get to know all of us better. In listening to Derek initially, it made me really think about what we are all about. He described Mo'ilili as a wonderful town where people can walk around and get to know each other, and it brought back memories of what it was like for me. You know, I grew up being raised by my grandparents, and they lived, of course, on the Waianae plantation. And my mother was a businesswoman, so my grandmother raised me. And you know, through that experience, I learned the values of hard work, responsibility, and respect. And I've got to tell you, one of the other things is that when we look at where we're coming from and where we are, it really does define us. So growing up on the Waianae coast, I knew that when you saw people in need, you found a way to help. And in addition to that, that experience is one that made it very clear to me about justice, equality, and the rights of Native peoples. Because, you know, Waianae coast has the largest percentage. We are here seeking the office of Congress, and I'm here to tell you that it's my experience in the legislature that makes me so well prepared for that. Because I know what it takes to get legislation through for the betterment of all of you, to be able to address the issues that you have and be able to actually pass critical pieces of legislation that's going to all define us. Whether it's in the area of reform, and my record shows that very clearly, or whether it's all the difficult questions of economy and so forth, I am ready to represent you in Congress. Thank you.
Good evening and aloha, everybody. I'm Charles Djou. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Derek, thank you very much for organizing this event. And of course, thank you very much to Mo'ilili Matters for putting together and hosting all of us here this evening. I want all of you to know I myself am very pleased to be here. For myself and my family, we have a number of ties here with the Mo'ilili community. Not only is my wife and my brother-in-law and most of my cousins went to school here, all 3 of my children have gone to preschool here at Mo'ilili Preschool, just around the corner. And indeed, my youngest of my 3 children still goes to preschool. She's in Mrs. Menora's 3-year-old class. So this is a community to which I come to on a regular basis. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm running for the United States Congress can be encapsulated in a pretty simple statement. A couple of weeks ago, I had the honor and pleasure of filing my paperwork to run for the United States Congress. On the day I filed my paperwork, that youngest daughter, who I was just talking about, happened to have turned 3 years old. Right after I filed my paperwork, as I was walking out, one of my supporters showed me a t-shirt, and he had a granddaughter who also was 3 years old. And that t-shirt read, "I'm 3 years old, and I already owe the federal government $46,000 for my share of the national debt." In a short summary, that's what's going wrong. The United States Congress is engaged in a policy of spend, spend, spend. We're spending too much money. Even worse than that, we're spending money on programs that aren't working. And even worse than that, we're spending all this money on programs that aren't working with no plan to pay it back, other than handing the invoice off to our nation's 3-year-olds. This is why we need to change the direction of Congress. This is why we need to put a brakes on these $860 billion stimulus packages that aren't working. This is why we need to stop these $1 trillion programs to take over healthcare in America. And this is why we need things like a balanced budget amendment in our Constitution, and why we need to introduce an earmark moratorium to change the culture of spending. I want each of you to know that if I'm fortunate enough to earn your support and be your representative in the United States Congress, I want you to know that I understand your families. I understand how difficult times are here in Hawaii right now with this economic recession. Most of all, I want all of you to understand that if I'm fortunate to be your congressman, I will never forget that every single dollar that the government spends comes from a family like yours. Thank you. I look forward to talking with you throughout the rest of this evening, and best wishes. Aloha.
Good evening. Aloha. I similarly want to congratulate Mo'ili Matters, the board members, for putting this on. Derek, great job. Great to see everybody here. Charles, Colleen, nice to be up here with you again. I'm kind of getting used to hanging with you a little bit. I'm going to miss it when the campaign's over, one way or the other. I'm fortunate to have 2 members of my family here that I want to be sure to introduce. Of course, my lovely wife, Audrey, right here is with us, and please welcome her. And the beautiful and great grandmother of 2 of our children, who is right now very embarrassed that I'm doing this, mostly because I'm recognizing her and also recognizing her as a grandmother, so sorry about that. Grace Moon, right here. Friends, you're going to start voting in less than 3 weeks. And in less than 6 weeks, you'll choose Hawaii's next congressman. And the questions are going to be asked throughout the campaign on economy, on the budget, on the important issues of our time. Every campaign, though, every candidacy, every decision really reduces itself to some basic themes. And I would give you 3 themes that I think form the center of my candidacy and that I would ask you to consider. And I think these will resonate through the questions tonight. First, who can hit the ground running in DC? Who has the seniority, experience, knowledge to get sworn in 2 days after this election? Second, I believe that we need to change the way we govern in this country. I believe that Charles is correct that the budget is a major problem, a major challenge, perhaps the major challenge. But the real issue is, how do we go about solving it? We can acknowledge that it's a problem and a challenge, and a very crucial one. But can we find a better way than the partisan warfare in Washington to actually get these problems solved? I believe we can. I've fought for that, and I will continue to fight for that. Third, we need a different culture right here in our Hawaii. I have served throughout most of the last couple of decades in public service here in Hawaii. I have served in the state legislature for 8 years, besides my 4 years in Congress, and I was very proudly a member of the Manoa Neighborhood Board before I went to the state legislature, and we obviously had a sister relationship with the great community of Mo'ili and interacted. And I can tell you that throughout that time, I have believed that we needed change to move forward in Hawaii. And this election is, in fact, your opportunity